The massive diplomatic vessel hummed softly as it approached the crystalline mothership of the Keldarin Empire. J1 Park stood nervously at the translation console, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that flickered with alien symbols. He was the youngest member of the human diplomatic team, selected for his exceptional linguistic skills and uncanny ability to read complex nonverbal communication. The Keldarin ship was unlike anything humans had encountered before. Its architecture seemed to breathe and pulse with living technology, organic curves that defy traditional spacecraft design. J1's translator device buzzed with partial translations, the alien language challenging even his advanced linguistic programming. As the docking sequence initiated, a series of complex mechanical movements began. Intricate silver-blue panels shifted and realigned, creating pathways that seemed to change with each passing moment. J1 noticed something strange about the ship's internal navigation system. The door mechanisms appeared to use a bioresponsive locking technique that responded to neural patterns rather than traditional mechanical triggers. His curiosity got the better of him. While the senior diplomats discussed protocol in the main reception area, J1 wandered slightly off the approved pathway. The corridor seemed to pulse with soft blue light, walls that looked more like living membranes than solid metal. He touched a panel, expecting resistance, but it responded to his touch with a gentle warmth. A series of gentle clicks suggested the door was responding to his presence. What he didn't realize was that he was accidentally accessing a private royal chamber, a serious breach of Keldarin diplomatic protocol. The door slid open silently. Princess Hannah Kim stood completely unprepared, her personal protective garments only partially secured. The moment was frozen in absolute shock. J1's eyes widened, his brain racing through 1,000 potential diplomatic responses. Years of cross-cultural training kicked in, but even his extensive training hadn't prepared him for this exact scenario. "I apologize," he stammered in perfect Keldarin, his hands raised in a universal gesture of non-aggression. "The door's bioresponse system seems to have misinterpreted my presence." The princess's initial shock transformed into a complex mix of emotions: embarrassment, anger, and surprisingly, a hint of professional curiosity. Keldarin royal protocol was extremely strict, and an unauthorized entry into a royal chamber was typically grounds for immediate diplomatic expulsion or worse. But something about J1's genuine expression of apology and his clear lack of malicious intent gave her pause. The young human stood perfectly still, showing respect and understanding beyond what she expected from a species they were meeting for the first time. The ship's internal communication systems began to buzz with alert signals. Security protocols were activating, and within moments, both human and Keldarin security teams would converge on this unexpected scene. J1's mind raced. He knew that his next words and actions would determine not just his personal fate, but potentially the entire trajectory of human-Keldarin diplomatic relations. One wrong move could destroy years of careful approach and negotiation. Princess Hannah took a deep breath, her royal training evident in how quickly she composed herself. The initial vulnerability was replaced by a regal composure that seemed to fill the entire chamber with an electric tension. "Explain," she said simply, her voice a mixture of command and genuine curiosity. And so began an encounter that would reshape humanity's first serious attempt at galactic diplomacy, all because of an accidentally opened door and a moment of unexpected vulnerability. The ship continued its silent journey through the vast emptiness of space, unaware that a single moment of human curiosity and unexpected respect was about to change everything. J1 waited, his heart racing, understanding that every micro-expression, every subtle gesture would be critically important in the next few moments of the investigation into J1's accidental entry. Quickly became the most talked-about incident in the Keldarin diplomatic mission. Senior officials reviewed every millisecond of sensor data, analyzing the unexpected encounter from multiple perspectives. The ship's complex bioresponse systems were particularly fascinating. They had never before allowed an unauthorized entry into a royal chamber. Princess Hannah found herself in an unprecedented situation. Typically, such a breach would result in immediate diplomatic expulsion. But something about J1 intrigued her. During the initial inquiry, he demonstrated a remarkable ability to explain complex technological interactions with calm precision. His understanding of the ship's neural response systems was far more advanced than anyone expected from a junior translator. The Keldarin investigation team discovered something unusual.
The door's bioresponse hadn't malfunctioned, it had actually interpreted J1's neural patterns as a legitimate access request.
This revelation created significant tension among the diplomatic corps. How could a human's neural signature interact so precisely with their most advanced technology? J1 sat in a specialized interrogation chamber, a space that merged technology and psychological assessment. Holographic interfaces flickered around him, capturing every minute detail of his physiological responses. He remained calm, a skill that only heightened the Keldaran official's curiosity.
"Tell me," Princess Hannah asked during one of their extended interviews, "how did you understand our door's neural response mechanism?" His explanation was simple yet profound.
He described how he had spent years studying alien communication systems, not just through language, but through technological interaction.
The Keldarans realized this wasn't just a simple diplomatic translator, this was a unique human with an extraordinary skill set.
Rumors began to circulate through the ship. Some Keldaran officials wanted strict punishment, while others saw an opportunity to understand this unexpected human capability. The diplomatic tension was palpable, with each conversation potentially changing the course of their first contact.
Princess Hannah's advisors recommended multiple approaches.
Some suggested immediate removal of J1 from the diplomatic mission.
Others proposed a more nuanced investigation into his unique abilities.
The royal court was divided, with heated debates occurring in secure communication channels. What nobody expected was the emerging evidence of a larger technological mystery. J1's interaction with the ship suggested a level of adaptive communication that the Keldarans had never witnessed before. His neural patterns seemed to have a natural compatibility with their most advanced systems. The investigation took an unexpected turn when additional data revealed that J1 had unconsciously adapted to the ship's communication protocols within minutes of initial contact. This was not just a linguistic skill, it was a form of technological intuition that challenged everything the Keldarans understood about interspecies communication. During one critical meeting, Princess Hannah made a bold decision. Instead of punishing J1, she would use this opportunity to understand human potential. She requested a series of controlled tests to explore his unique abilities, transforming what could have been a diplomatic disaster into a potential breakthrough.
The ship's internal dynamics began to shift. What started as an embarrassing incident was becoming a complex exploration of human capability.
J1 found himself at the center of an unprecedented scientific and diplomatic investigation.
Security protocols were gradually relaxed. The initial anger and suspicion began to transform into genuine curiosity.
Keldaran scientists and diplomats started viewing J1 not as a security risk, but as a fascinating subject of study.
Princess Hannah watched the young human carefully.
There was something different about him, adaptability and calm that suggested humans might be far more complex than their initial assessments had revealed.
Each interaction peeled back another layer of complexity.
As the ship continued its journey through the vast emptiness of space, a new understanding was slowly taking shape. What had begun as a potentially catastrophic diplomatic incident was evolving into something much more significant, a potential bridge between two very different species. J1 remained at the center of this unfolding drama, his quiet competence slowly changing the Keldarans' perception of humanity. The accidental door opening had become much more than a simple mistake, it was the beginning of something entirely unexpected. The diplomatic tensions began to shift when a new threat emerged from the dark edges of space. Long-range sensors detected an aggressive fleet approaching, the Orcs Collective, a known enemy of the Keldaran Empire. These ruthless destroyers had a history of eliminating potential diplomatic threats through overwhelming force.
J1's unique skills suddenly became more than just a curiosity.
During an emergency strategy meeting, he proposed an unconventional approach to communication and defense. While Keldaran military commanders discussed traditional battle tactics, he suggested a multi-layered communication strategy that could potentially prevent direct conflict.
Princess Hannah watched him carefully.
The young human's mind worked differently from any species she had encountered. Where Keldaran strategists saw rigid protocol, J1 saw flexible opportunities. His ability to read complex communication patterns went beyond simple translation, he could predict potential interaction points.
The Vorac's fleet moved closer.
Their massive ship signatures suggested an overwhelming force that would typically crush any resistance.
Traditional Keldaran defensive strategies would have involved immediate military engagement or complete surrender. But J1 proposed something entirely different.
Using his understanding of neural response technologies, he began constructing a complex communication matrix.
He mapped potential communication frequencies that might penetrate the Vorax's communication barriers.
It was a risky strategy that most military advisors considered impossible.
Princess Hannah made a bold decision.
Instead of dismissing J1's proposal, she authorized a limited test of his communication strategy. The ship's communication systems began transmitting a series of complex signal patterns that defy traditional communication protocols.
Something unexpected happened. The Vorax fleet's approach began to slow. Their rigid attack formation started to wobble.
The communication matrix J1 had constructed was doing something extraordinary. It was creating confusion within their command structure. Keldaran military commanders watched in disbelief. What should have been a certain defeat was turning into a potential diplomatic breakthrough.
J1's strategy was working by introducing complex communication disruptions that the Vorax couldn't immediately understand.
Princess Hannah realized they were witnessing something remarkable.
Humans were not just another species, they represented a fundamentally different approach to problem solving.
Where others saw barriers, J1 saw opportunities for communication and understanding.
The Vorax fleet continued to hesitate.
Their attack plans became increasingly fragmented. What was supposed to be a straightforward military engagement was transforming into a complex diplomatic chess match.
J1 remained calm throughout the entire process.
He continued adjusting communication frequencies, introducing subtle variations that kept the Vorax command structure off balance. It was a masterclass in adaptive communication that no traditional military training could have prepared for.
As hours passed, the Vorax fleet made no direct aggressive move.
Their communication channels became increasingly confused. What should have been a clear attack had transformed into a complex diplomatic standoff.
Princess Hannah understood something profound was happening.
The young human had demonstrated capabilities that went far beyond traditional diplomatic or military strategies. He had introduced a completely new approach to potential conflict resolution. The ship's internal systems hummed with tension. Keldaran officials watched their screens, unable to fully comprehend how J1 was managing this complex communication dance. His neural patterns seemed to move in ways that defied traditional understanding. When the Vorax fleet finally began to retreat, no shots had been fired. No traditional weapons had been used. Instead, a complex communication strategy had achieved what massive military forces could not: a peaceful resolution.
Princess Hannah looked at J1 with a mixture of respect and genuine curiosity.
The young human had not just prevented a potential conflict, he had demonstrated a completely new approach to interstellar diplomacy.
The unexpected alliance between humans and Keldarans was no longer just a possibility.
It was becoming a remarkable reality, born from a single unexpected moment of accidental contact. The aftermath of the Vorax encounter transformed the entire diplomatic mission. J1 found himself at the center of intense strategic discussions, his unconventional approach becoming a blueprint for future interstellar negotiations.
Princess Hannah recognized that they had discovered something profound about human capabilities.
Detailed analysis of J1's communication strategy revealed intricate layers of adaptive problem solving. Keldaran scientists worked tirelessly to understand how a single human could disrupt an entire military approach without using traditional weapons.
His method combined linguistic skills, technological understanding, and an almost intuitive approach to complex communication. A new threat began to emerge from the galactic political landscape. Multiple alien civilizations started showing interest in the unexpected resolution of the Vorax confrontation. Intelligence reports suggested that several species were now viewing humans as a potentially significant diplomatic force. Princess Hannah and J1 began developing a collaborative strategy.
They spent long hours mapping out potential diplomatic approaches, combining Keldaran traditional wisdom with human adaptive thinking. Their meetings became legendary among the diplomatic corps, a perfect blend of royal protocol and innovative problem solving.
The ship's technology seemed to respond differently to J1's presence. Keldarin engineering teams discovered that his neural patterns could subtly influence complex systems in ways no other species had achieved. What initially seemed like an accident was proving to be a remarkable evolutionary adaptation. Strategic planning sessions revealed the true depth of human potential. J1 demonstrated an ability to predict potential conflict points by understanding the underlying communication patterns of different species. His approach was less about confrontation and more about finding common ground. A critical moment came when detailed star charts revealed a complex network of potential diplomatic challenges. The Keldarin Empire had long-standing tensions with multiple galactic civilizations. J1 began mapping out potential resolution strategies that went beyond traditional diplomatic approaches. Princess Hannah watched in amazement as the young human transformed complex political challenges into potential opportunities. Where previous diplomatic missions had failed, J1 saw pathways for communication and understanding. His mind worked like a living communication algorithm. The ship's diplomatic database began updating in real time. J1's approach was so unique that it required completely new classification systems. Keldarin researchers realized they were witnessing the emergence of an entirely new diplomatic methodology. Intelligence reports confirmed growing interest from other galactic civilizations. The story of how a single human had neutralized the Vorx threat was spreading rapidly through communication networks. Humans were no longer seen as just another emerging species, they were becoming a potential diplomatic powerhouse. Collaborative planning became intense. J1 and Princess Hannah worked on developing a comprehensive approach to future interstellar challenges. Their partnership represented more than just a diplomatic strategy, it was a bridge between two fundamentally different ways of understanding communication and conflict. The Keldarin military leadership, initially skeptical, began to see the value of J1's approach. Traditional battle strategies were being rewritten. The concept of conflict resolution was shifting from military might to adaptive communication. As their planning continued, something unexpected happened. The ship's neural communication systems began to adapt around J1's unique interaction patterns. It was as if the technology itself was learning from his approach to problem solving. Princess Hannah realized they were at the beginning of something extraordinary. Humans represented a new kind of diplomatic potential, a species that could transform conflict through understanding rather than force. J1 was living proof of this remarkable capability. The strategic resolution was about more than preventing a single conflict. It was about opening up entirely new possibilities for interstellar communication and understanding. What had begun as an accidental encounter was transforming the entire understanding of diplomatic potential. The ship continued its journey through the vast emptiness of space, carrying with it the promise of a new approach to understanding and resolving complex interstellar challenges. J1 and Princess Hannah stood at the center of this remarkable transformation, their unexpected alliance becoming a beacon of hope for future galactic interactions. The galactic communication networks buzzed with the story of J1 and Princess Hannah. What had started as a simple diplomatic mission had become a turning point in interstellar relations. Dozens of alien civilizations began studying the unprecedented human approach to complex communication and conflict resolution. Diplomatic records showed something remarkable. Humans, a relatively new species in the galactic community, had demonstrated an adaptive capability that challenged existing understanding of interspecies interactions. J1 had become more than just a translator, he was now seen as a living example of human potential. The Keldarin Empire began implementing a series of collaborative programs with human diplomatic teams. Scientific exchanges accelerated, with research institutions across multiple star systems showing intense interest in understanding human neural communication patterns. What was once considered a potential security risk was now viewed as a significant diplomatic asset. Princess Hannah used her royal influence to create a special diplomatic initiative focused on human-alien collaboration. Her experiences with J1 had convinced her that humans represented a unique approach to problem solving that could transform existing galactic political structures. Multiple alien civilizations started sending diplomatic missions to study human communication techniques. Universities developed new research programs dedicated to understanding the adaptive capabilities demonstrated by J1 during the Vorax encounter. His approach had become a case study in diplomatic innovation. The technological implications were equally profound. Ships began incorporating communication systems inspired by J1's neural interaction methods. What was once considered impossible was now becoming a standard approach to interstellar communication. Intelligence reports suggested that other human diplomats were showing similar adaptive capabilities. It wasn't just J1. Humans seemed to have a collective ability to approach complex challenges with a unique blend of creativity and strategic thinking. Governments across the galaxy began reassessing their diplomatic strategies. The traditional approach of military might and rigid communication protocols was giving way to more flexible, adaptive methods. Humans were proving to be unpredictable and innovative in ways no one had anticipated. Princess Hannah and J1 continued to work together, developing comprehensive strategies for managing complex interstellar challenges. Their partnership became a symbol of what was possible when different species approached communication with genuine curiosity and respect. The economic impact was significant. Trading routes began to open up in areas previously considered too complex or dangerous. Human diplomatic techniques were creating pathways where traditional approaches had failed. Entire industries began to develop around this new approach to interstellar communication. Scientific research revealed something unexpected about human neural patterns. They demonstrated a level of adaptability that seemed to transcend traditional biological limitations. J1 was proving to be more than just an individual. He represented a potential evolutionary leap in communication capabilities. The Vorax Collective, once considered an unbeatable military force, found themselves increasingly isolated. Their traditional aggressive approaches were becoming less effective against the adaptive strategies demonstrated by humans and their allies. Political structures across multiple star systems began to change. The rigid hierarchies that had dominated galactic politics for centuries were being challenged by a more fluid, adaptive approach inspired by human diplomatic techniques. J1 became a diplomatic legend. Young aliens across multiple civilizations began studying his methods, seeing him as a model of innovative problem-solving. His accidental encounter with Princess Hannah had transformed into something much larger than a single diplomatic mission. The Keldaran Empire underwent significant internal changes. Princess Hannah's experiences had convinced her leadership that traditional approaches needed radical reimagining. Diplomatic training programs were completely restructured to incorporate the lessons learned from human interaction. As years passed, the encounter became more than just a historical moment. It represented a fundamental shift in how different species could understand and communicate with each other. J1 and Princess Hannah had opened a door to a new way of thinking about interstellar relations. The ship that had once been the site of an accidental encounter now stood as a museum, a testament to a moment that had changed the course of galactic history. Visitors from multiple civilizations would come to understand how a single unexpected interaction could transform entire systems of understanding. The vast emptiness of space seemed a little less empty now. Humans had proven that communication, curiosity, and adaptability could be the most powerful weapons in any diplomatic arsenal.